My name is Paloma Lufsandorj. I'm a founder of Kite Mongolia, and thank you for the invitation from Dr. Aziza Jalaluddin and Shine Global. I think the concept is, the concept of going global with 100 small enterprises, SMEs that are looking to list on the global exchange is very, very intriguing and very interesting. And I'm wishing all the success. I think the event had very interesting thought speakers, and I'm sure that you are going to listen to the recordings of this event and to find out whether you can join this movement by Shine Global. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let me introduce founder and director, Dr. KHC Aziza Jalaluddin. Hon Doctorate in Global Entrepreneurship and Ecosystem, specialization in business networking. An alumni and ambassador of Accelerated Business School, USA, Singapore representative of International Chambers for Indian Business. From the service sector in banking, advertisements, and tourism industry since 1990s, Dr. KHC Aziza ventured into the transformation people development industry. In 2002, pioneer from Asia, successfully curated and delivered 10,000 plus hours of events and programs. Her 20 plus years of effort has been the catalyst for thousands of professionals and business leaders globally to align with their higher purpose and accelerate to new heights. Dr. KHC Aziza is possibly the only Asian to have shared stages and conducted online and offline sessions on conscious leadership and conscious capitalism with many global dignitaries and academics, including Stanford professors, Silicon Valley investors and veterans, and global leaders in business, and also humanitarians like Marianne Williamson, Dame Doria Cordova, and Dr. Ivan Misner. Through her passionate mission with our Shine Go Global, she's committedly serving SMEs with an audacious vision and structured plan, revolutionizing and transforming the way people do business, travel, and impact their lives globally. Let's begin this inspiring journey. Dr. KHC Aziza, please take the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, and a very, very warm welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us. That was just an introduction. We have wonderful people in the room. Thank you so much. Peter, would love you to have you sit here so that we can honor you with that. And then we do have wonderful people joining us on Zoom. This is going to be a highly interactive session. As you know, we have mentioned to everyone as I introduce each other, we are about people who are partners, shareholders, and close network who have joined us today. And it's really a brainstorming session to have a teaser, to have insights to what's really possible in this journey. So what we are going to be sharing today will be really about you and what you are up to in your life and how we can together make a shift. When I first thought of this and then brainstormed with our dear Victoria, and I'm going to get her to speak in a bit, we really were looking at one very important part of the investment world. And that's where all the speakers today represent what we are up to. And I really want to thank first and foremost Peter Goldston for joining us and being part of this journey with us as well. So let's give him a hand. And I want to say that, you know, when we saw all the gaps, later on I'm going to invite, Victoria to share with us. And for those of you who are wondering why is she on the camera and not in the room, Victoria was admitted in ICU 2 weeks ago. Yeah, last week, if I'm not wrong, well, more than 10 days now, and was quite serious. It really freaked me out. And then she decided to still go ahead and come online right now. So it'd be quite interesting for you all to know the kind of audacious way she is living her life, committed to what we are doing together. In fact, if you've seen her on LinkedIn, you would have seen her go to some events. So this woman is really up for some powerful good for humanity. So can we have, Victoria, are you on audio already? Video already?
Thank you. Dear colleagues, partners and participants, first and foremost, I want to thank you for dedicating your time and attention to this significant event. I'm delighted to welcome you to our inaugural preparatory session of the International Investment Forum, a groundbreaking initiative we are hosting in collaboration with Shine Global Impact Investing Community and supported by our international investment platform, Global Invest. My name is Victoria Hasanova. I am an international expert with over 20 years of experience in business and investments. I am here to share our vision and set the tone for today's dialogue. Why are we here today? We gather here not just to discuss ideas, but co-create something truly transformative, an innovative format that answers to demands of today's investment landscape. In our fast-paced world, forums and businesses events have become ubiquitous. At any given time, hundreds of similar events are taking place worldwide. However, how effective are they? Not often do participants leave with a tangible sense of achievements, new insights, or actionable outcomes. Sadly, such instances are rare. This realization drove Aziza Jalaluddin and me to take action. We aim to redefine the traditional event structure, transforming it into a space where every participant gains clarity, finds support, and discovers the resources they need to achieve their goals. This forum is not just about networking or discussing trends. It is about practical solutions and measurable progress. Each one of you brings unique experience and insights. Behind every person here is a story filled with the lessons, achievements, and a vision for the future. Today's session marks the first step in a larger journey. Our goals are to understand your objective and align them with the upcoming main forum. The groundwork for an event then transform ideas into action. Ensure that every moment here contributes directly to your success. Let us approach today with openness and enthusiasm. Share your needs, present your project, and articulate your vision. This session is not merely a discussion. It is the starting point of our journey toward greater success. The International Investment Forum is designed to empower every company, project, and individual participant, making them stronger, more successful, and more visible on the global stage. Thank you for your support, your time, and your trust. An extraordinary journey lies ahead, and I'm thrilled that we are embarking on it together. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give her a hand. I think Cindy's helping me a bit. I think I better stay on stage. The stage like away. All right, so thank you very much, Victoria. I really appreciate you and we love you. And I'm wishing you the best of health and see you soon in Singapore. And one thing that we want to also reiterate is the power of community coming together. As we say in Shine Go Global, we are not just about either Singaporeans or Indians. We are really a global community. And the event represents that. And we're very grateful that Dame Doria has also joined us. Maybe we can unpin. Cindy, you want to unpin Victoria so everybody is visible here? Oh, maybe I should unpin, right? Because it was from my screen. Thanks, Itzi. So next we have our introduction by my dearest business partner and managing director with me, founder and managing director with me, Mr. Ayyapadas. He's right now in India, so let's welcome Mr. Ayappadas.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Mother of mentors, Dame Joria, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers and participants. It's a great privilege to welcome you to this Prelude to the International Investors Forum 2025. We at Shine Go Global, we are more than a business school, connectors, we are an impact investment community dedicated to fostering sustainable growth, creating transformative opportunities, and empowering businesses to thrive with purpose. With growing number of family offices in the region, the number of new family offices tripled this year alone in Singapore. There is increased awareness on diversification of investment. But where does the money go? Where can we bring it to? This IIF Prelude event is a precursor to the historical first of its kind International Investment Forum planned for 22nd and 23rd February 2025. Today's event represents a pivotal step toward building a collaborative ecosystem that champions conscious investments and legacy-driven growth, bringing together investors, business founders, and industry leaders across Asia for an impactful growth. We thank our esteemed honorable speakers over here, Dame Joria, Mr. Peter, Ms. Bolorama, and the presence of Mr. Kyo, the Vietnam Trade Council of Singapore, showcasing the importance of this journey for the world. We thank our partners who said yes as we step into a brand new journey for the region and globally from Asia to reach more investors, more family businesses, family offices, to think impactful, highly profitable business transformation through conscious capitalism. Let's all work together to shape a future of meaningful impact and shared success. Once again, let me take this opportunity in congratulating everyone and thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Okay, we got you, Dame. Let's give a hand to Dame Doria. Let's bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Thank you. So, welcome, Dame. Thank you so much for joining us, and I know I have a couple of questions for you. And would you like to say hello before we start your questions?
I'm sorry, am I supposed to be talking now?
Yeah, you can, yes. Can you hear me?
Okay, well, aloha everyone from San Diego, California. I'm so happy to see you all, and the ones on the screen, and for those of you who are in the audience, thank you so much for getting together. And hopefully what I have been learning for the last 45 years will allow you to be able to see the world a little bit differently than maybe you have seen it, because we have been around for so long. And the people that I inherited this work from, they were very successful entrepreneurs that literally created a new paradigm of education for entrepreneurs and for business people. And it came out of a real company in San Francisco in the 70s. And it was a combination of very sound business tools and also a combination of what used to be called human potential movement practices. Now it's called mindset work. And so it's always a combination of the two when you are choosing to do business in a way that it adds value to humanity, that it isn't just driven by profits only for themselves, for the company, but it also takes into consideration the employees, you know, the people around them, even the suppliers, of course the clients, and even competitors, because now we have a new paradigm, which is that you can work with your competitors and have them, you can do joint venture partnerships with them, because not one company, one group can provide all the services for everyone. And so there's a whole new global paradigm, and the world is catching up with us. So now we're a little bit of rock stars because we've been doing it for so long, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So that's a little bit of my background.
Thank you so much, dearest Dave. So, you know, this conversation on money is always on the table, and when we are talking seriously, when it comes to investment world, we say finance. So please help us understand money and finance. How can financial education reshape the entrepreneurial journey, enabling individuals to build wealth responsibly while fostering global transformation?
So right now, the whole world needs to be re-educated. We need to start, and I have been about transforming educational systems around the world since 1977. And the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by my old business partner of 9 years, Robert Kiyosaki, along with his business partner, Sharon Lecter, that book hit a vein all over the world because people know that they're not educated. And our children, our young people, and most people need to know. They need to know the basics of entrepreneurship. They need to understand that there's sales and marketing, people and organization, money and finances, and what you are good at. So traditional schools just teach you how to have a profession, what you're good at, and then people go out into the business world and they stumble around and they have so many learning experiences because they learn business from maybe their first bosses or from their relatives. They don't learn it in a way that is organized and it can make a difference in people's lives. So once we understand that intelligence alone, just being good at what you do, and you need to understand that you need to train yourself and build a toolbox of entrepreneurial tools, then the game changes and then people can have an advantage. And this is why you see sometimes multi-generational wealth that gets destroyed by their children because they also haven't been trained on how to be an entrepreneur, how to be a business owner. And on top of that, when it is now fashionable, it's becoming fashionable to do good and to create wealth. This is something that, again, is catching up with us. And that very idea, when I introduce it in certain circles, people think that I am a Pollyanna or a rich hippie or somebody that's not in touch with reality. But the truth is that we've been around teaching business for 45 years. Actually, the business school has been around for 46 years. The business school was created, the first business school for entrepreneurs was created in 1978, and the Money and You program was a much shorter business course that came out of that business school for people that didn't have time at the time to take 6 weeks to learn about business. So one of the things that we have found, and if you look around and you begin to kind of shift your own mindset and you begin to look at some of the most successful companies are adding value to some cause, something that's really important to them. You know, they're solving problems. If you look at the richest people on the planet today, they have solved a very big problem. A lot of times people kind of don't want to see that, but why do they make so much money? Because they have an economic engine that works, but also you have people in the leadership, or they have surrounded themselves with very good people who understand people. That is one of the key things. It's like there's the old-fashioned, it's a very old paradigm to think that you're just going to tell people what to do, that people are just going to want to go and work for money alone. That paradigm is shifting tremendously, and COVID did not help because with COVID we had to stay home, and there was a whole new paradigm that got created, and now it's time for business owners, for schools, for university, for leaders to understand that you have to catch up with the paradigm that has already shifted. And people do want to do good. There's only, it's like there is this picture sometimes of people who are very wealthy or who are very successful, that they're not such good people. Well, I was very close to Dato Masnad Hamid, the owner of Security Force in Malaysia. That family is one of the richest families in that country. I was also, and I still am, very close to Jenny Tay of the Hourglass, and I know that has been a very interesting story. But the bottom line, when she ended up sending 200 people, mostly from her management team, to the Money and You program, was for them to learn how to manage people. People management is one of the hardest things to do. And a lot of people want to leave it for others, but you also have to manage your own emotional intelligence so that you can be a good leader. So we are holistic. We're not just, just this one thing that we're going to do. There's many aspects to being a successful, fulfilled, wealthy human being. If you just want to be rich, you want to step all over people, you don't want to be respectful, you want to, you don't care what you do in order just to have money, that still exists in many, many places, but that paradigm is shifting drastically now. So it's very important to understand that what we're talking about here today is one of the key things in getting up to date with what is happening in the business world.
Yeah.
Did that help?
Yes.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, Dame Doria. When I visited Silicon Valley in 2016, that was the same statement that was told to me by investors then. Even then, they said, we are looking at businesses that can make money and do good, and we are ready for it. So that was 2016 in Silicon Valley, and I'm so glad that we are now really speaking about it all over the world. It is so beautiful. And I want to ask you, Dame Doria, you mentioned about Accelerated Business School, and we have more than 200,000 conscious business leaders who have created massive wealth, thousands of them, right? What do you feel the one common factor among them all they have been consistent in? The one common factor that is consistent, that consistently applied in their businesses for both wealth and consciousness. What is the one common factor?
Leverage. That is our number one teaching in all of our programs. And most people really kind of throw around that word without understanding it. So leverage is key. Leverage is key in building, in creating wealth. When you look at compound, interest, when you're just looking strictly at what an investor wants to get out of an investment that they put in, do they put it into a company, or do they just put it somewhere for it to grow, or do they? And I always love to give to groups like this. If you go to accesstocashbook.com, there is a free gift there of the personal productivity form, which is chapter 2 of a manual that I wrote many years ago, because I'm a systems person, I'm a systems expert. And I wrote a book called Money Making Systems for Entrepreneurs. And this second chapter is about being organized. And that is something that you can also do in your computer, or you can do with some apps. But right now also, let me just say very, very quickly, and my godchildren always want me to say this. They go, Auntie Doria, you're so old-fashioned. You're talking to people about being organized. We have apps for that. So let me tell you something. At least you have 3 assistants, okay? And you have several people that are going to be receiving your directions. That's when beautiful apps like WhatsApp is fantastic. But for the rest of us mortal beings that don't have that kind of access, I do. If I'm on WhatsApp, I just send it all these to-dos to all these different people. But I personally cannot keep track of that. And right now, a lot of entrepreneurs are having a lot of learning experiences by not being organized, because the devil lives in the details. God lives in the details, and so does the devil. Because if you're not organized in creating income-generating activities, that is also a big problem, and most people don't want to even look at that. It has to do with administration, that every organization needs to be very organized in that area. So I'd like to give that gift away.
Thank you. And
It's really great to be here. So Aziza, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you. It's really my pleasure. You know, you're talking about opening up with the heart, makes it easy for me. I like to start there and start with presence and start connecting with the audience, because I'm not just here to talk to you or at you, I want to talk with you. I hope that what I covered today provides value for you, and my commitment is that there are actionable strategies, things that you can take on to your life, no matter what it is that you're doing, whether you're an investor or whether you're an entrepreneur or founder or part of an organization. So, you know, Aziza has asked me to talk about legacy. It was very easy for me to say yes, because I have a legacy mindset, but I approach that from a little bit of a different perspective. So today I'm going to talk with you about growth, about sustainability, and about legacy, and about how all of those are interwoven. Often people want to separate those three distinctly. I believe they're interwoven, and we'll talk about the connectivity of those during the course of today. So hopefully that sounds like a good topic, suiting really on the underpinning of conscious capitalism and social responsibility for all of you in the room and all of you online. By way of background, just so I can help you understand, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 40 years now. I'm 61, I started my first company in my 20s. I had my first exit when I was 30, and that was a private transaction. That was my first experience of being a founder, building a company, and selling it to a strategic partner on a private basis. After that, I began a career of investing and advising and working with companies in the growth sectors around the world. I have my master's in international business. I've studied governance and leadership at some of the best universities in the world. Even at 61, I'm still studying. I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. This weekend I have to finish a paper to complete a certification at INSEAD, which is one of the best business schools in the world, on being an international director. My studies in global business started when I was in my 20s and continue on now in my 60s. And I think part of growth, sustainability, and legacy is lifelong learning. And from different aspects, in different ways, both formal, experiential, and working directly with others. As part of my experience, I've been a founder, investor, board member, advisor. I've started my own companies, took that through the NASDAQ journey myself, as well as a licensed boutique investment bank. I was fully licensed. I didn't enjoy being an administrator of a bank, so I sold that. It's still active on Wall Street. And now my work is really done as an IPO advisor and as an investor, and I work as a coach and advisor directly to CEOs as well as a board member. And in my experience, I've had a lot of successes. I've also had a lot of failures. And the failures and the hardships are the things that have taught me the most. The successes were through hard work and application of business execution. The challenges that come along the way continue to be the best teachers that I've ever had. So as you're migrating through the different stages of growth, which we'll talk about a little bit, understand the challenges and hard times shape you into the person, into who you are today, and into the future. So as we look at the importance of a mindset of exit strategy becomes at the forefront for me, not as something that's an option, but as a critical inclusion. I like to, and I want you to all think about starting that mindset around exit strategy early. You don't have to wait until you're ready. Often then it's too late. And with that comes tremendous benefits. You know, each one of us is part of a business, organization that has its own life cycle. There are family businesses that could go on for thousands of years. There are startups that could fail within a limited period of time. So between startup growth, right, emerging growth, maturity, there's a long life cycle. In every kind of approach that I bring to business, you want to understand that that's a part of your legacy. So that mindset around understanding and realizing that there's a life cycle through your organization and how you approach that creates a different strategy. And if you're really thinking about an exit strategy, you're forward looking, which is where I want you to be when you're looking at how to build your business. So a lot of the discussions are about sustainability. I'm only going to touch on them today because most of you have studied these areas and understand these areas. What I see is global versus local. And there's a shift now around the world towards sustainability, and having an understanding that what's going on globally is impacting your business, but bring a local understanding to that. There are regulatory components, there are unique nuances to the individual markets and businesses that you're working in, and each one of those can unlock opportunities for strategic growth. And then the key is interwoven with the investors that you have, your own vision and your own growth, about incorporating both local, global, and the unique characteristics of sustainability. So what I see often, and I've learned those lessons and paid the price for not understanding where things can go wrong. And so I just want to share a few of those with you. First is preparation. In our work in listing companies, we put a tremendous amount of focus on preparation. But whatever it is that you're doing, think about preparing not just from your own lens, but from a 360-degree perspective. And bring that preparation ahead of time. The better you're prepared, the better you're executing. Companies don't often understand the value of governance. I've studied it worldwide, and it's probably, to me, one of the areas that companies fail when they don't utilize governance controls and systems and their own team of board of advisors and their board of directors as an asset to help have a higher level of corporate governance. You know, alignment with stakeholders, you know, often as CEOs, entrepreneurs, founders, as parts of organizations, we look through our own lens, and often that's very limited. So I want to have you think about aligning and expanding the way you're thinking about stakeholders. Stakeholders go beyond your employees, they will go beyond your partners, they go beyond your shareholders. It's really anybody that touches your organization in any way, shape, or form. And then what is it that you're communicating to them? So think about the communication. We spend a lot of time on what it is that you're actually saying, how you're saying it, not just spoken, but the messaging in your organization through internal and both external. So the case for an exit strategy. In my belief, just starting to prepare for your exit will maximize the value of your organizations. If you have better controls, better systems, you're going to have better performance. By utilizing those, you can align the stakeholders inside your employees and giving more confidence to the outside, the investor base, to the communities that you serve. Just by having that in place, typically will increase the value of your company because you're better prepared, you're better organized, and your company is operating at a much higher level. So in our business, in the IPO business, there's a fun saying, if you're IPO ready, you're ready for anything. Meaning that if your organization is really prepared for a public listing, you've done the hard work. And then whatever opportunity comes your way, whether you need financing, whether you look at a trade sale, M&A, that opportunity comes at a much stronger, rapid rate when you're market ready. In this environment, the global markets are shifting at a rapid rate. So be ready. And that's the case for maximizing your value as preparing for and operating with an exit mindset. So if you think about, if you're already public, even if you're a small company, even if you're private, the transparency, the visibility, the credibility. So I like to suggest to companies that you start thinking and operating differently with the belief system that operating as a public company, even if you're private, will give you greater benefit and reward in operating with an exit mindset. You know, we all need confidence from our stakeholders. You want your employees to be motivated, aligned, excited. You want to provide return on investment to your investors. It's really what we're here to do, and that goes beyond, of course, in this conversation of conscious capitalism. Then you go extend into the environment, into social responsibility. So it really all comes back to one complete full cycle around operating with a mindset to be able to go forward. So now I want to link it to legacy. We all have a legacy. And in business, for me, part of my legacy is working with entrepreneurs, sharing my knowledge over the last almost 40 years. We work with companies that are going public. Going public is one way to create a legacy. It's a milestone. But that legacy can come in a lot of different ways. So you want to understand, of course, in this group, businesses are built for many reasons. Nonprofit, social responsibility, for-profit, for growth, and it varies. It varies really from case to case. So we want to kind of intertwine and have you think about those as not separate activities of building for growth or sustainability, but building legacy into the next steps of your growth. So we want to create a lasting impact. I think all of us would say if you're creating a legacy, there's something lasting. And that's different to every one of us. What may be important to you and what you want to create would be different to the person next to you and next to you and so on. So innovation, sustainability, and ethics are the drivers of your legacy. A couple of cases, just to give some context. There are so many, but I just picked two to share with you because they're two that I have seen as role models in my growth as an entrepreneur. So Patagonia is a fabulous worldwide global corporation. The founder is an advocate for environmental sustainability. And if you look at his work, he's now actually converted into a public benefit corporation, which is leadership in its own right. He's demonstrated that you can be profitable and have eco-friendly practices in place. It's a really dynamic organization. The other one, much more highly visible, is Richard Branson. I'm sure all of you know about him and know of him. But what he did that I really love, and so he's combining both for business, experience within each person that he touches, and social responsibility. So they're just a couple of examples because I don't want to stand up here and just talk to you about something. I wanted to bring it back into the real world about people that have demonstrated that. Now I'm going to shift into the things that are more important to me that I want to teach you and share with you that I find are the characteristics of a CEO, a founder, or any one of you as a senior executive looking to bring legacy forward into your world. So the first one is curiosity. To me, curiosity drives innovation. Be more interested in what others are doing. Take a deep, curious thought process. Remember, like your kids, you're curious about the world. The more curious you are, I believe, the more you'll learn, and the more that can drive innovation. Innovation is a part of sustainability and growth. So ambition. Ambition to me is about drive. What is it that motivates you to want to do what it is that you're doing? And then there's the 3 Ps. So passion. For me and for all of us, you want to do something that you really enjoy, that lights you up, that gets you up in the morning to go out, and something that you really truly own with passion. And finding that takes time. I'm doing it now. It's one of the reasons I'm here, because I'm very passionate about what I do to lead and work with other entrepreneurs around the world. The last 2 people tend to misunderstand purpose. Purpose is talked about a lot, and I think it really is almost the most important aspect of what we do, the why. Why are you doing whatever it is that you're doing? And it's had me shift my career from not your typical Wall Street individual, not your typical Wall Street mindset, to wanting to work more with individuals around the globe. My purpose in educating and sharing knowledge is coordinated into everything that it is that I do. And then the last one is presence. Be 100% focused on where you are at the moment, who you're with at the moment. Bring your full self. And if you bring that and you're open, great things can happen. All of us have other things going on in our minds, our worlds, our days, and learn how to put those aside when you're together with people and when your leadership style. And the more presence you bring, the more openness you bring, the more opportunity, I believe, will show up. So this is what I've coined as the CAP code, or the CAP 3 code: curiosity, ambition, passion, purpose, and presence. And I hope all of you will take that into your worlds. This is part of the actionable teaching that I'd like to do. And you can take each one and study them one by one and start to see that if you combine all those, you have all the ingredients and the elements that I believe lead toward a dynamic leader and certainly lend towards growth, sustainability, and legacy. So what am I doing in my own personal legacy? I've gone outside of Wall Street. I still make my living in Wall Street. Wall Street helps me to reach investors and reach growth companies. But my passion and my purpose now is something that I've created called the Integrated CEO. And it's based on 3 components: self-leadership. Everybody talks a lot about leadership. Leadership is often external out into the world. I want to start with internal. I want to focus on who are you? Who are you being that you can lead others? And taking care of your own emotional intelligence to make sure that you're positioned to be able to bring about an impact on the world. So impact is the second pillar. And whatever it is that you're doing, Doria mentioned it earlier, the ripple effect. There can be a big ripple or a small ripple, but everything that you're doing can be organized around impact and wanting to make a contribution to the world in whichever way it is that you do, through your business, through the organization, and what you're working towards in your life. And of course, the last one is performance. And I don't just mean traditional key metrics. Everybody likes to talk about KMI and KPI. Performance is both individually as yourself and the organizations and the teams that you work with. And if you put all that together, it makes what I call the integrated CEO. But that could also be the integrated leader. It could be the integrated investor. It could be the integrated individual. So my focus is on work with CEOs, and this is part of my legacy that I'm working about in the future. So in conclusion, everything we've talked about is specific to you, to your business, right? To your own choices and your own strategies that you're going to pursue in life. I think it's really critical to be clear about your own specific strategy and direction, and then you can map on some of the things that we discussed. Start planning for your exit early. Even if you never plan to have an exit, some companies want to stay private, they want to stay closed. Operate as if you do have an exit and see what happens to your organization and see it shift, right? It will ensure a smoother transition into whatever's next for you. I can guarantee you, because I've done it myself and I do it regularly for others. And I think really, from my perspective, what I want to share with you is the world's wide open, right? I'm here in Singapore now. I flew over from the US. You know, I'm touching people throughout the world right now in a way that's very meaningful and impactful as part of the exit strategy that I'm creating for my future and for the future of others. So a couple of authors. We talked about the book. I've written a book called The Entrepreneur's IPO. It's an easy read. It's a practical book. I wrote it during COVID. I have 2 other books already in the works. It's a guide for anybody who would consider wanting to do an IPO. It's also a guide for anybody who wants to grow their business into a larger scale and a larger organization. Thank you for bringing this. Yes. And I want to make it available to you for free on an ebook. So if you just connect with me on LinkedIn, we'll make sure to get you a free copy. And when I'm back, Aziza will do more copies and we'll do them in person and we'll sign them over to you. It's really something that came out of all of my experience, and what most entrepreneurs don't realize is how accessible it is to do an IPO. You don't have to be a unicorn. You don't have to be doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. It helps. But there's an entire world of small cap and micro cap companies which are having access that they're not aware of. It's what Doria spoke to. It's leverage and access. So the book creates a knowledge base, and my work is to be a bridge into those areas of taking these companies from their vision into a further reality of being a NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange listed company. There's, to me, no greater event that I've experienced in business than taking your company public and ringing the bell. I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to do that with companies now all over the globe, and the book hopefully will add value. The other thing, just so you understand, I am a coach to CEOs or advisor to companies. I'm happy to connect with every one of you and see how I can add value, how I can add access, and I can add leverage to you and to your communities. We're doing an IPO summit. Aziza knows about it. One of the unique things that I'm a big believer in, as I talked about earlier, was lifelong learning. I also believe that we need to educate people about what's possible. So my organization, Exchange Listing, which I'm the founder of, has created an event at NASDAQ in New York in April of 2025, where we're bringing online, in person, CEOs from around the world to learn directly from the top team of professionals that I've assembled over the last 25 years that are specialists in legal, in underwriting, in securities, on the exchange, to the entire ecosystem. For one room, there'll be networking, there'll be opportunities for you to meet with investors and underwriters and to get exposed. We're also doing this online, and Aziz and I will work out some type of an opportunity for you to participate so that even those that can't afford to or can't come to the United States for this particular live event can benefit from the knowledge and the education that we're having directly at the NASDAQ in April. So feel free to engage with me on LinkedIn. I'm much more accessible than you might think. To me, this is a dialogue and it's a community, and I'm really thrilled to be able to contribute and to participate with the community globally. So thank you very much.
How many of you here are ready for more action right now? Are y'all seeing the value of what you have access to? We're just starting, all right? So we're gonna have some interactive activities after the break, and you can go for a bio break. There's coffee in the room, and I love the friends on Zoom to also unmute and have your interactions as well. So later on, as maybe y'all can get up and get your coffee, we're gonna get introduction done of who's in the room. I really want y'all to know what you have access to in the room today. It's gonna be mind-blowing for you, all right? So thank you, and let's go for a short bio break, and then get back into the room as well, because we have a very nice lunch waiting for us in about an hour time or so, all right? So thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dawn Heng, founder and managing director of Mirandi Global Consulting. So we are a management and investments advisory consultancy. So there are two main parts, two main focus of our services offering. Number one, management consulting, where we focus on IT consulting, leadership development and executive coaching. Thirdly, will be investments advisory. This actually came about in a way that our partners and our clients' requirements are pushing in daily So, needless to say, my background, I'm actually an environmental engineer trained, and some of the projects that we have developed and constructed is actually hotels. So naturally, how I actually cross path into the finance sector is actually through the M&A of hotels. With my ex-chairman, we have acquired 9 hotels, and now it forms part of the Escorts Trust REITs portfolio. So from then on, I started the journey of accumulating the network of potential investors, international bankers, as well as inquiring on entrepreneurs' needs when it comes to fundraising. So I have myself across the world, in total about 60 consultants with us, experts consultants I would say, because from our end, when it comes to the governance, we have a very small team, myself, my COO, as well as 2 accounts manager who is facilitating us when it comes to the administrative, as well as sending out outreach emails and weekly regular updates to our investors. So this is all about us. Then when it comes to the final arm, sustainability advisory, this is where the impact investments come to the picture. Yeah. So we are very honored to be here with Dr. Aziza, as well as Go Global Accelerator, and very meaningful to be able to be part of this IIF 2025. And yeah, I wish everyone a very good day. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
This is Dr. Shin. I hold a PhD degree for machine learning, but I'm in the variety of industries, healthcare, retail, F&B, and investment bank, and some other consulting as well. So now I'm here for the CFO of the Dadaka Holdings. We operated we have many brands for the F&B and chocolate, related to chocolate. We have halal chocolate, we have halal bakery, and Japanese bakery as well. We are now trying to expand our business to overseas. We do have now business in Japan, Singapore, now starting China, and Brunei, and the USA, and South Korea. Now we are looking for that opportunity, especially the ASEAN, India, or Gulf Middle East. So we are looking for that the collaboration with many partners to distribute our products and make our business grow together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if you sit down and talk to him, I've had many of our partners sit down and speak to him, and every time they communicate with me, it's like, did you know he do that? Did you know he do this? This is like an amazing human being who has done some wonderful work. And I understand he is also working with a group of investors from Japan who are venturing out of Japan into Asia and globally, especially for energy projects. Especially what? Biomass, right? Renewable energy projects. So he has been supporting, and some of the projects he's brought into, like Dadaka has been working with Japanese businesses going global, and that's how he's holding the forte for them. All right, so thank you so much. Is Jasper in the room? No. Okay. Olin, come in. Introduce Strategic Creative Consultancy. Daniel couldn't join us, and Daniel's also one of our shareholders and person in charge. So just before that, I want to say thank you to Daniel, who is now setting the space for Shine Go Global's licensing our memberships. For those of you who know, we have a membership is now getting licensed for 10 different cities to take on our project, so that our members will be handled by our licensees. So thanks to Daniel Ho, who can't be here, but his partner is here. I'll introduce Strategic Creative Consulting.
Thank you, Dr. Aziza. Yes, I'm Orlan. I'm Project Manager and a Creative Director for Strategic Creative Consulting. As Dr. Aziza said, Daniel is a partner for Go Global, so I'm representing him now. And what we do is basically we help companies expand locally and globally. I think most of us are doing that right now. So yeah, so either from Singapore outside or outside of Singapore going in Singapore, not just in Singapore but across Asia, Asia Pacific, including US, Australia, and that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you so much. And one of the area that Daniel and Strategic Creative Consulting specializes in is M&A. So they do quite a bit of stuff, and I'll connect you with Peter and Daniel so that they can get into a call on that as well. And then we have Dominic from Malaysia who's joined us. Dominic, come on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aziza. Good morning, everyone. I wasn't prepared for this, but just to share a little bit about myself, I used to teach. I have a passion to teach, and that was like almost 20 years ago. So currently, I'm the CEO of my own company in business development. I work like a very different type of fund manager. We don't invest in equity. My clients will buy land and we give them ideas on what to do with it. I'm an exit strategist, so I help them to come up with concept and to create a product to sell it in 3 to 5 years down the road, either in merger and acquisition, equity, or strata 5 units to be sold in the public. Then I find that I want to create something more meaningful, because building structures is like so boring, and we don't learn and we don't help people around us. So I learned this from Lee Kuan Yew, that we should focus more on software instead of continuously building hardware. So I spent a lot of time going around, taking time off from work. So I spent a month in the UK last year, and I spent 2 weeks in Japan, 2 weeks in Vietnam, and I gathered a lot of things, I learned a lot, and I was invited to be in Sabah, and we met up with finally after a year, we met up with our funder, and I think I will be able to make this dream come true. We are going to build a university in Sabah, a British university. Is along the pipeline. This is one of my goals now, to bring good education into the country. Yeah, and last week, 2 weeks back, before I flew into Singapore, I was invited to meet up with a key person in Penang. I don't know how much you know about Penang. Penang is a Silicon Valley of the East. It's a very large area of semiconductors, and also very famous for biotechnology companies. We're talking about big corporations like Intel, AMD, Micron, Abbott, B. Brown. They are constantly expanding. And I was also given a mandate. They said, "Hey Dom, instead of you building the university in Sabah, why don't you build one in Penang?" I did tell them that it's along our pipeline, but I think now I've been given the challenge to do that. This is also my goal, to bring a second university into Penang. We are focusing on STEM programs. The mandate is we need to come up with 60,000 engineers by 2030 for the industry in Penang, and there's no way we can achieve that, because even if we employ smart people from elsewhere, we will never be able to fulfill this number. So I was given the mandate to find the right university to set up so that we can create the right people for the industry within. Yeah. So before I end this sharing, I always believe in this pyramid. How I came up with this passion. On the top tier, we have parents who can afford to send their children overseas. They can pay for the fees, and then they can also afford to pay for the cost of living. Now, when you come down to the second tier, a bigger tier, parents can afford to send their children overseas to pay for their school fees, but they can't afford to pay for the cost of living because it's too expensive. And the students will have to end up studying part-time, and it affects their studies. And of course, when you come to the third tier, the largest tier, which I have passion to make this happen for them, parents who cannot afford both. They can't afford for the fees, they also cannot afford for the cost of living. And it's a shame, because if you look at the children within this pyramid system, their knowledge, their wittiness, their experience, and their gift is not correlated status of the parents. Hence, we want to create an atmosphere for them where they are given a chance to get good quality education certificate and high-paid jobs. So our mission is to create these universities in Malaysia because the cost of living is so much lower, and we will be able to fulfill this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How many of you are inspired about education here? So, you know, we have been meeting up so many times in the last 1 month. Dominic, Singapore, Malaysia, we've been, you know, really getting, that's how, do you all agree that when communication gets consistent, there's a magic that happens? Do you all get it? When the more we communicate, the more we are able to interact and share, and that's how we can make things happen. And thank you so much, Dominic, for constantly being at it. And Sabah is on our vibes, it's on our roadmap. And thank you, Ms. Balarma has joined us right now, and I want you to just relax a little bit. And we have people on the Zoom room as well. We have Queen Ayla. It's very timely. Queen Ayla, I'd love to have you introduce. Queen Ayla is from Indonesia. She's our founder of the World Women Leading Change. One of the reasons how Victoria and I met in her event when we were speaking at the Women Investment event in Dubai 2 years ago. Right? Thank you so much, Queen Ayla, for joining us.
Thank you for being a great woman that's trying to create impact to the world. My name is Ayla Al-Jufri. I came from a very ancient kingdom from Indonesia. It's called Talakanagara Mataram Dynasty. And I'm very, very happy to see you all, even though I can only join you on the Zoom. My apologies that I was actually planned to fly here to Singapore and meet you all in person, but because of some motherhood, so I could not be there. But yeah, I'm very proud of all of you in doing impactful, high conscious business. The world is changing, and the earth going to phase 5. Phase 5, it is a very spiritual earth. So we need to be high conscious. And I am actually in real estate. I found a company called Ayla Associate. We are in real estate. We have also asset management company. It's called Hujan. And we founded World Women Leading Change, Women Empowerment Global. And of course, we are part of Go Global Community. Love and live from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Thank you so much, Queen Ayla. Really appreciate your time to be with us. I know.
If I can add one more thing.
Yes, please.
Yes, we are behind you. We are behind you. We are Federation of the Monarch Consortium. Yes, we have Indonesia Monarch and also Gulf Monarch. So we are behind you. Go and shine.
Thank you. Global Invest and Shine Go Global. Yeah, let's do it together. Remember, thank you so much. Opening the heart, opening the mind, and opening the will. Really, it's about us not just becoming inspired or excited and say, hey, this is good, but how are we getting into action? In this second, the final part of our conversation, it became really apt that we could get Ms. Balarma to join us, because she is going to be speaking about the driving the resilient growth in the emerging markets, especially when it comes to legacy-driven investment strategies. She is the nominee director of one of the leading banks, and also her own organization, which is really inspiring for everybody to know. Let me just quickly pull that up. A little bit of. Yes. So her full name is Balarma Luzans-Dorf. Am I right to pronounce it like that? Yes. Mongolia. She is actually an IIF nominee director of TBZ Uzbekistan, a leading bank in Uzbekistan, and founder of Kite Mongolia LLC. And this amazing woman actually has played a very integral role shaping the bank's strategic direction and governance, and with more than 25 years experience in finance and banking. We understand that she used to be with the World Bank as well, and her career spans in various regions including Japan and United States, and currently as the founder of Kite Mongolia is a pioneer in venture building and investment company dedicated to supporting social innovation, creative industries, and the development of Mongolia's startup ecosystem. How can we not be so honored and privileged and blessed to have her with us at this time of the year? Thank you so much, Ms. Millerma. Welcome to the stage.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me quickly introduce myself. I'm a banker. Very boring. Since my graduation as a banker at the Mongolian University, I've done 39 years of investment banking, of commercial banking, and everything else, right? In between Development Bank of Mongolia as well. So when I actually was working for Deutsche Bank, I worked for Deutsche Bank close to 9 years in Tokyo and New York. And I kind of had this feeling like I'm missing out of life, right? So, and in 2000, I found this tiny book called Venture Fund, yeah, in 2000. And that's what I thought, oh, this is Mongolia, what needs Venture Fund. And since then, I'm like an Alice in Wonderland. Went into the hole and coming up and going down, coming up and going down, just to make sure that this thing, the whole thing actually happens, right? So today's discussion was about conscious capital, right? And I'm thinking, what is a conscious capital? What does it mean, right? So when I was pursuing my dream of creating a venture fund, I stumbled upon Impact Fund in 2010. I attended a conference call for Asian Venture Philanthropy Network that actually spurred into European Philanthropy Network and etc. At that time, impact was a new word. So by impact, what do we mean by impact, right? So exactly what do we mean? Is it about jobs? Is it about something else? And then you'll see a lot of institutional investors, and they'll be not actually taken by your ideas. They'll be like, Alorma, we have to measure it, right? We have to make sure that impact is actually trickling down. So today, when Aziza sent me about conscious capital, I was like any woman, because I'm so responsible. I felt a shock. Oh my goodness, I have nothing to say about conscious capital, right? And then I discovered that it was created 11 years ago by the CEO and founder of Whole Market, right? So obviously we can use so many different words, and the newest one is actually new capitalism, right? And so now Japan developed its strategy for new capitalism, and obviously when Prime Minister says that is our strategy, that's where most of the time corporate money goes, right? So everywhere, I'm sure that in the audience you are all entrepreneurs looking to raise money for your social enterprises, to make change in the lives and livelihoods of people you love, make change into environment and etc. But it's not so easy to get the money. And apologies for coming a bit like rushing, because I have a parallel meeting with IFC where I sit as a nominee director for Uzbekistan. And people are, what is Uzbekistan? And so 10 years ago, we used to have, 10, 15 years ago, we used to have the same question about Mongolia. What is Mongolia? Is it part of China? Is it part of Russia, right? So I think Uzbekistan, like with the rest of the, Central Asia, is awakening up. And I obviously want to talk more about Central Asia in my speech, right? So going back to conscious capital, obviously it has 4 pillars, having a willingness to do a very good business. If you have a good business, then you have your customers. If you have your customers, then you have a capital, right? So it's as simple as that. And then, of course, you have to have a leadership who is leading that conscious capital, saying, well, this is what we want, right? That is exactly what we aim to do with our organization, and that's how we are going to change the world. But because of that, our profits will be more sustainable and wonderful, right? And then, of course, you have to have a thought leadership. You just don't want to repeat anything that has been said or done, and etc. You want to improve upon it, right? So if we are talking about impact finance, how we can do it differently, and how we look into different models so that our model actually works much, much better. And of course, you have to have a culture of compassion of being true to what you promise, right? So that's what I think is in a very simple terms. So whether it's called impact financing, sustainable financing, or new capitalism, we are talking about now we have a population in the world which we never had before, right? Like, I don't know how tremendously the population grew on Earth. Elon Musk talking about going to Mars. What are the reasons of going to Mars? Except that solving some of the issues or overpopulation, and hence with the population, food security, environment, many other things. So I'm predicting actually that consumption will reduce. To be honest, I see the new generations that my son, I can't each time I meet him, can't you go to some shop and buy new jeans? And it's like, no, because that is not environmentally good, right? So younger generation wants to recycle, younger generation wants to spend less, younger generation wants to extend the life of what they consume, right? And that is completely different from where our youth was. Our youth was crazy capitalism, like 80s when we were having all the discos, but also discos at the investment banks as well, right? So I went through the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, covering North American banks, broker-dealers, and my first sort of awakening came in 2007 when I was making a presentation for our credit officers in Mumbai. And at that time, Countrywide actually drew its own commitment line. And that's how it started, right? So I think since all these things happening, I think people are much more conscious with financial crises. Now, together with the climate change, with all the climate disasters, and then of course added to the complexity, now we have geopolitical tensions, right? A few years ago, I was listening together with my fellows from former Deutsche Bank team on the lecture from Ian, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he wrote in a wonderful historic books on economy, like Ascendance of Money and etc., etc. So what he said is, forget about war in Russia. That was 2019, right, 20. Forget about China tension with USA. What is brewing in Middle Eastern countries is going to be exactly the same as happened in the Iraq war and etc. At that time, we didn't everything seems so nice and wonderful over there, what's happening over there. And then now you have this all tensions coming up, and how we do survive, and how we actually continue to do a conscious capital, but it's so much risk around us, right? So I think that's where resilience comes, resilience. And yesterday I was listening to a founder of Money Hero. They IPO'd, I think in New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ, and he said, resilience, you need to talk on the board with your management about resilience. And usually the word resilience comes like, okay, crisis happens, what we do, how we react, right? But his term of resilience is completely different. How to predict the trends or what's happening in the future and how to be prepared for that, right? So if we take the word resilience onto opposite side and try to foresee what's happening in the world, then I think you are going to be exactly what you tend to accomplish, right? Having a sustainable business, making your impact along the way, and etc. So I don't think in this world now you can talk about any investment without talking ESG, without talking about the environment, without talking about your impact. So hence, now it's a must. Whether you're a big corporation, that's regulatory obligated to do well, and not just do well, but not to greenwash, not to gender wash, not to many different washes, right? So that is already done, and big boys are starting to be penalized for all these things. But what about the smaller ones, right? What about the small entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, and etc.? So this has become very, very important for these organizations, because if you want to survive, in this new world, you have to be prepared along this supply chain. Let's say if you are a farm grower in Thailand or Vietnam or elsewhere, make sure that your practices actually conform to these things to be included in the chain of this, green development-driven economy. Otherwise, you won't be able to survive. Unless you do well practices, nobody is going to work with you. And now it's becoming more reality check, right? So we talk about doing well doing good for so long, but when it comes to actions, we forget how it is important to make them into actions so you could be part of that incredible supply chain, right? So now it's no longer, well, this is a big boys talking. This is IFC or World Bank or whoever talking about it. It's about how you can be included in this new world, right? And as I mentioned, this is just my prediction. I think people will consume less, but they will consume good products, right? They want organic clothes. They want to make sure that the clothes last long, right? So I'm actually surprised that Japan came out with a new concept of new capitalism, because a lot of practices of Japanese SMEs, I'm not talking about big corporations, right? Japanese SMEs, stores on the block, whoever you talk, restaurants, they are so conscious. They're conscious of environment, they're conscious of use of their resources, they constantly recycle, and obviously the ultimate goal is to make the customer happy, right? So I lived in Tokyo for 5 years, and I was fascinated. I came first from US, I came from Mongolia, which is a completely sort of like a nomadic culture. We do whatever we please to do, given that we are living in such a vast land, right? And then I go to US, and that's again another sort of like a self-driven economy, individualistic. And then you go to Japan, and first I was baffled by all these rules and regulations. You go to shop, and they want you to first take your food instead of taking your water. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe, will I survive, right? So in 5 years, I actually turned into Japanese, because I started to understand why they're doing this, for whom they're doing it, and why I can just go any restaurant, any tiny shop in Japan and eat a wonderful meal. Because I'm sure they're practicing what they preach, right? So even for smaller entities and larger entities, it seems like Japan a bit backwards, right? Because they are not using that much technology as they could, And the reason for that, they're also looking out for society. So for digital transformation, what is going to do that to our people? How we are going to ensure that people are still getting salaries, still can survive, still, sustain their livelihood, right? So this, I think, is the core of conscious capitalism, right? Right now, what I see is, well, used to be a lot of years of gender, and now move away gender. It used to be a lot of years of SME drive, right? And I'm just coming from IFC meeting where they're saying, well, we can't deal with SMEs, but that is the problem, in my opinion, right? So we have a lot of, big guys, let's put it that way, jumping onto wagon of green, disruptive technology. But nobody wants to talk what disruptive technology does for the 70–80% of the population on Earth. Less job, less income, a lot of issues, right? So I'm afraid that the new world for the younger people will be slightly difficult, So we need to make sure that these young people are actually equipped with, skills for future job. We need to make sure that now these practices of ESG are going to trickle down all the way to micro businesses. Unless you adopt them, you can't survive in this environment. And that is altogether is actually good for the planet. It's good for people. If we continue to do that, I'm sure that the world will be better. I'm glad that our disco years, Peter, we were in disco years. They're gone, right? They're gone, and there's much more impact. Before I would talk about impact, let's say 10 years ago, right? And most of the big boys were like, okay, Baluma, we'll love you, what you're saying, but profit is more important, right? So I think now big boys actually come to us and they say, what do you have in your toolbox that we can utilize, right? Yeah. So that's what we are trying to do. Utilize, make sure, and suddenly all these socially conscious businesses become very popular now. Yeah. But because nobody practices, and that is my kind of like a message to you all, because you have to practice what you preach, right? If you say you are a sustainable business, what does it mean? If if you're saying you are an organic or nature-based, sort of like a farm or wherever, tourist camp, what do you exactly mean, right? So I think those things needs to be adopted, and obviously there will be a lot of educational part on what does it mean, sort of like a question mark thing. And I'm very glad that Dr. Aziza is actually doing all these sessions and etc. So I think collectively, hopefully we can get into a new world where conscious capitalism is really practiced, So obviously you want to hear about what are the tools are available for you guys, right? So now there is an increasing number of course, impact-driven foundations. The whole, the whole thing actually changed. A few years back, I think 2016, I was asked to speak for a group of 600 CEOs in Mongolia. And I thought, like, what I'm going to talk to 600 CEOs, right? And then, Eureka moment, metro. Because we are trying to push metro, and government will say, we are poor Baloma, we can't build metro, right? So then I said, like, well, if 600 CEOs agreed that metro is useful, obviously the government has to say yes, right? So then I started to look into metro, and then it qualifies for everything. Yeah, air pollution, you have a green finance, you can get lower impact, low interest rates because it's a green finance and all those things, right? So we need to actually talk about the different structures on how to raise money. So now every foundation in the past 10 years changed. In fact, the whole word impact was actually created by Rockefeller Foundation. They were giving out all the, and there are so many documentaries made about how donor money is getting wasted and how the community in Africa or elsewhere not benefiting from the donor money, and everybody is lose-lose, right? So they changed the whole thing, and now it's about impact investing, where you can actually have a return, have a sustainable businesses. And even larger corporations, even larger NGOs are now in a big predicament, because everybody now looking for impact. So even fundraising for them is getting more difficult, right? So for small SMEs, obviously grant is pretty much no longer exists. You have to make sure, don't ask for grants. It's most likely will not happen. Right? But grant may come with sort of like as a kind of like a part of the blended finance. So the grant will be given for the enterprises, for the SMEs, for the ideas, for the concepts, for the funds, which actually say, oh, this is exactly what we are going to do, and together with the grant, give us your grant because we're bringing either government money or developing financial institutions money or corporations money, right? So if you get the biggest, the best, of course, to bring your private sector behind you, and then say, oh, all right, our products are being bought by this company, and they're helping us with, and then with that you can get, loan or equity investment or whatever, and then you can talk about grants and etc. So I think now people have to exclude the word grant from their vocabulary, because I think it will be harder and harder to get a grant, right? Then of course you have all sorts of, but then there is another instrument which is coming, and for the past probably 8-7 years, and that is actually green bonds, social bonds, and all those kind of instruments, right? And even loans now can be structured in a way that as long as you provide your clients with some of the things, then you can get cheaper interest rates and etc. Currently, the bank I used to sit as on a board that did the 10 round for is getting a large financing from development institutions, because they're structured in a way that 50% of that bond goes to blue economy. And so we have all this green economy, blue economy, and as we go through this process of kind of shifting to a better future, I think there will be new terms coming up, right? Definitely disruptive technologies are extremely good, and I'm not saying no. There are so many, particularly Singapore is right for that. You've got all these wonderful universities, and I was just talking to one professor from Nanyang University, and she's talking about new food, from native plants, new derivatives of things, right? So there are so many disruptive technologies that are wonderful, but also MSMEs and micro entities and all those people have to adopt them, right? Have to work along the entire chain to adopt all these disruptive technologies. And most of the time, disruptive technologies do come from universities. And that's where I think a lot of people miss out. How do you work with your technology universities? How do you work with your scientists? If you go to, I'm going to take a bad case of Mongolia because I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm pretty sure that it is happening in all these markets that we work, right? So scientists somewhere at the corner making all these wonderful scientific experiments and nobody cares, right? And then you have startups over there which are claiming to be very good, right? But because they don't have this deep tech that scientists created, those startups cannot survive. It's simply replication of some kind of old ideas that become successful in other much bigger markets. And so then you need people like us, let's say. We've done actually experimentation. We don't believe that Silicon Valley or acceleration of startups works for emerging country. And hence what we've done is that we kind of like experimented with support from the donor of creating linkages between the science and from startups, corporates, and etc. And that's where you can see a lot of value being created. And so I think when you go on your journey, I'm sure, you'll have a lot of advisors to advise you along the way, how it will work, and etc., etc. But key thing is, what are you doing, how you're doing it, whom you're doing it, and how it actually helping, people, environment, and and your company. So these things used to be pretty words, but it's now a necessity when you think about it. So with that, I'm really, hope you enjoyed this event, and I'm sure you are making a lot of network connections, and then if you have some questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's getting very late for you, but thanks so much for being there. Yeah, so any questions you all have for any of these three powerful leaders of the world? Sometimes, even if you're working for someone or you're part of a consulting company that is, supporting SMEs and investors, these are very relevant information for everybody, and definitely for business owners who are looking at creating your own legacy and growth. And so I know there's many of you who are consultants and working with others, so maybe you have any questions that maybe your investor might have or your business owner might have, or we can have any questions from the business leaders here. Anyone?
Just a very general question from one business owner to the leaders alike, right? So very simple, like at times of doubt, like in your mind, okay, you're going the right way, but maybe you have a small doubt. So like, what do you guys do to sort of overcome that? Have you successfully figured out, okay, this is what I need to do every single time, or is it like purely instinct, or whatever you have? Like, how do you guys tackle that problem?
That way, right? I actually said that I'm like a dog who found a bone. So I'll bury it somewhere just to, whenever the opportunity arises, go and go back to my bone and take it out. Because I honestly believe that SMEs and micro businesses in this world need equity. More than loans or grants and everything. Because once you have money that is actually patient and stays with you, then you can do it, right? So it would be almost a book if I wrote like 12 years of my journey, into trying to get the VC fund. And now we are invited into another program, and we're like fingers crossed saying like, all right, maybe third time is a lucky charm, right? So I think very early in my career, when I was at Deutsche Bank, I met a very powerful lady at Citibank, and later she became a chief risk officer of Citibank, global chief risk officer. So she said, we were having a dinner, and then suddenly she asked me, Paloma, do you think you're patient? And I'm like, or impatient. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm always saying that I'm so impatient, right? So my first reaction would have been impatient, right? Extremely impatient, I have to say, right? And then I'm very entrepreneurial. Things need to move for me, right? And I can't sit still, right? And then But I went back home and I started to reflect on my life, and when she asked that question, and after 3 years I met her in New York, and I said, well, I know my answer to your question. And she said, what question? I said, were you impatient? I said, I'm very persistent, right? So I'm very persistent. I'm impatient, but I'm very persistent. And now I'm actually being commended for being very tenacious. You know? Tenacious is the word now describes me. You know? So you have to be tenacious if you're really setting a goal that everybody says is not going to happen, right? Many times, a lot of big boys will come to me, and then, and including actually international banks, you know, really, you know, ultra wealthy people in different countries, in Switzerland and others, they'll be like, Burma, why are you doing this? You know, we could do like on the spot, hire you there, here, wherever, with package of millions. And so.
There's a whole science behind decision making. Entrepreneurs especially are prone towards using their intuition or their gut, right? Which I believe in. But what's the other side? And so decision making you can actually look into and look at the steps along making decision. And I think the biggest one in a dark moment is not to do it alone. And to have a group of trusted advisors that you know over time, not where you're in a crisis to then start to ask for help, but people who understand your mission, your purpose, your values, right? And the culture that you have within the community that you've created, and tap into them at those dark moments to bring in support, energy, resources, relationships to help get you back track on the North Star. And knowing that by itself, that you're not in it alone, I think entrepreneurs are prone to, I know I was when I was younger, I'll do it myself. I'll figure this stuff out. And it's a trap, it's a pitfall. So if you have your North Star, you have some form of a structure, or I'm gonna even call it a process for decision making, and then utilize community, it'll take you beyond wherever that sense of doubt is into a much higher, bigger opportunity set. Yeah, thanks.
Just what I was sharing a little bit earlier, one of the things that, I just want to add to a couple of things that people said, particularly when the beautiful queen from Indonesia was talking, and which is it's a new world. And I think that it is the nature of the mind not to adopt to change. My experience in training people for 45 years is that we are not comfortable with change. Some people are, but it's a minority. Most of us don't. Change brings up fears and uncertainty, and it kind of like throws us off. And there were 4 global paradigm shifts that have occurred in the last 4.5 years. And prior to that was 9/11 in 2001. Prior to that was the oil crisis in 1972, and prior to that was World War II. That's how rare global paradigm shifts occur. And we have had 4 in 4 years, 4.5 years. And so everyone is adapting, and we all have to really be very much in our own center and be much more vigilant and open to reading, and even things that we may not agree with and things that we are uncomfortable with, which we all can be. And then from there, really look at the decisions that you're going to make on how you're going to grow your company, how you're going to attract investors, how you're going to be the best at what you do. Because that's the other aspect of not having competition. I know that we live in a world that's based on competition, but when you are the best, when people rave about you, and that reminds me, one of the best business books I ever read was Good to Great. That's a 25-year-old book by Jim Collins. Good to Great. That is one of the best books ever, business books. And in there, it talks about not only leadership, economic engine, that was where I first heard that word, economic engine. But as a leader, you have to be able, he calls it a class 4 leader. You have to be able to hold simultaneously, completely opposing thoughts. A good leader, and of all the leaders and all the presidents that I have met and prime ministers, I always get into a conversation with them about that because they have to be able to hold completely opposing points of views and thoughts. And that also has to happen in our own businesses, even if we are small business owners. But everyone starts small, and then you're going to get bigger and bigger, and soon you'll be a huge conglomerate. And Jenny Tay of the IIF class taught me that. That Tomasna taught me that. I mean, these are women that have created new industries right there in Singapore, Malaysia. And so, if you can just get and give yourself, take three deep breaths and give yourself a lot of credit and understand that the world has changed radically, particularly since COVID. And so now adapt, and also patience, but also innovation and looking at the world with brand new eyes and listening with brand new ears. And everything that was shared today was just wonderful. I learned quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you, dearest Dave. And I know that for a fact that if we are not in that space, we will become obsolete really soon. And that's unfortunate for those businesses that has already gone into that space. So is there any more questions? We're actually asking questions. I'd like to welcome Mr. Cao, the director with Vietnam Trade Council Office, Trade Office of Vietnam. So thank you, Mr. Cao, for joining us. Let's give him a hand. He wrote to me yesterday, he said, I'm always happy to support you, so thanks for joining us. And Vietnam is one of our very favorite places that we opened up this year. We have our shareholder, Ms. Anna Ngo. Later maybe you can do some sharing as well about the market in Vietnam and our intention of bringing Vietnam to the world and world to Vietnam. And I'm going to be later also while we introduce. Anyone else have any questions? Any more questions? I see that you cut. I feel like you want to ask questions.
Maybe I can ask.
Yeah, come in. Yes, come. Because you're on camera. There's a YouTube running.
I often have these intrusive thoughts. So one of it came up is like, so I work with some management teams where sometimes they use certain things for branding and labels. Certain businesses, like the big boys, right? They will use even things like, our product is going to stop and poverty and human trafficking. So things like that. So I was wondering, how can genuine, SMEs and businesses who genuinely care and not just use labels and just marketing branding, how can we have some measurements, KPIs, how can we differentiate ourselves to really show that to the consumers, to our clients and partners, that we are really having our heart in it and not just even if I go shopping and then they'll say, do you want to put like a $2 tips to some cause and you are not really sure if that's really going there or it's just for PR purposes. So I would just like to throw it out there, how do you think, do we need certain KPIs, do we depend on ISOs, and how many people are actually aware and educated by ISOs, right? So open-ended question.
I'll take a crack at answering that first. I think the world is kind of calling out those fakers, right, who make claims that they can't support. And a lot of the marketing efforts that even the big boys have made are not supportable. So I think it starts with the truth. It's really fundamental thinking, right? Transparency. And then I think there are ways that SMEs can demonstrate their commitment to SMEs, but it has to be in some way tangible. And I think that's also from SME all the way up to the top. You know, ESG is misunderstood. If you even look at BlackRock has now retreated from because it conflicts with profit. And so a component that I'm really looking for and advising is to have almost a committee or a team that has an understanding of the business and the social responsibility aspect and put together a plan that has their mission, right, that truth, and the transparency comes in some way to demonstrate. I'm with you. I don't want to give money over to, and I often do, give money wondering, where has it gone? What are they doing with it? And we'll never quite know. So I'm a big believer that you can have all of that together, but the transparency comes in some form of a measure. And you know, Peter Drucker is one of the greatest management consultants ever in the world. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And it's a mandate that I live by, and I think it applies to ESG components just as much as anything. You can, just marketing has a science, it has an art, and there is ability to measure. So some way of being able to translate mission into a demonstrable outcome that's measurable would be my advice.
Maybe I can add a few points. So every company is different, and your measurement have to reflect that, right? So the first advice is never to have too many KPIs, too many measurements that you can't measure, right? So key is always the selection, which KPIs you, or which measurements you want to select. Who you are impacting, how you are impacting, and how you are measuring it is very important. So the more you add to that, the harder it is to track, and the harder it is to earn the trust of the people, and etc. So keeping it simple is always helps, right? So bigger institutions, of course, have boards who are guide them in the ESGs and etc. But then you have bigger institutions can afford, you know, entire department which looks into measurements and etc. But for the smaller institution, for the smaller players, obviously learning what to measure and how to measure. And there are so many courses. If you are here in Singapore, you know, there is a, as I mentioned, AVPN offers a lot of courses which are not that expensive. You know, you have to get your understanding, what you want to measure, where your theory of change starts, and how the theory of change is getting you to the impact that you want to achieve, right? So keeping it simple, knowing who you want to, you know, report to, but also knowing how within your company understand those criteria. They're probably a key in this, you know. But ISOs and many other things, you know, they differ. They don't really have a lot of impact when you talk about SMEs and other smaller initiatives. Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's give a hand for that question and the answer. Thank you so much. So, is there any other questions? Any final? No question? Okay, so we're going to come to the final segment, which we feel is very important because this is going to be the precursor to the February 22nd, 23rd event, which is happening in 2025, the International Investors Forum, where we are bringing together powerful investors and change makers who wants to come together and grow together. So we have two important persons that I would love to introduce in the room today as well. These are our partners who have joined us online. You know, we told her it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, Dubai. She actually ended up in Dubai. Look at that lady. Madam Jennifer, can you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, the CEO of Auriga Corporate Services.
Yeah, good morning everyone. This is Jennifer Isaac and I represent Auriga Capital Advisors today. We are a completely custom-made advisory firm where we are entering into the capital market, where we're talking about the hand-holding of the SME listings, IPOs, and we're talking about the portfolio management systems, wealth management, where we're talking about the equity and debt. Of course, we're looking out for investors. There are many of them. We're looking out for the projects who could go ahead and pitch. So we are all joining hands together with Go Global along with this, and I'm glad to meet you all online today, and I'm sure you all are going to have a great session today along with Dr. Ziza and of course Peter all the way who's there from US. You all are really going to see the rocking man. Peter, I'm really going to miss you there to meet you personally, but definitely I'm sure the audience is going to be lovely. And of course, there are people online here, yes. A pleasure to meet Victoria, Mr. Ayapadas, and many others. Sorry, I'm just missing out your names. But all the very best to everyone, and hope to see this continue the session online now.
Thank you. And definitely we'll be meeting up in February in Singapore. And thank you so much, Madam Jennifer. And we have also Ms. Ravenna Chen. Ravenna, 在吗? Of course, even if I speak in Chinese, she speaks very good English. Is she there? I brought her in. Okay, she's not in yet. So Ravenna Chan is the one of the management team of 2-Star, which is what did you all know? Tsinghua University, Beijing has set up a holding company which grew really big from a startup ecosystem to what it is today. It's a holding company with global presence. She was just now getting online. I'll get her to introduce herself. Right now they have an office in Malaysia and also in IMDA Singapore. Did you know? Singapore, they have an office also. So it's a very important partnership that we have established so that we can introduce a lot of investment portfolios in the region together. So, and okay, so while waiting for her later on, I'd like to introduce 3 of the very important projects that we would love you all to just take a look at when we talk about impacting, investing, conscious capitalism. We're going to get into a little bit of action of how this feels like, because you just got an idea. So for some of you, especially if you are not in the space, it looked like some concept, like something coming out of nowhere. So I'm going to just show you some examples here that we are approaching live, as well as present to you how Go Global has seen conscious capitalism as and how it is taking shape for us as a community from Asia. So I'd like to invite Shraddha from India, the CEO of Travel Bait Business Development, and she's going to share with you about her journey as well in this. Go ahead, Shraddha. Shraddha, you're welcome.
Thank you, Go Global, Dr. Ziza and all present there. Good morning here in India. I'm based in Bangalore, India, and I'm the co-founder of Travel Baits, as she said. It's a travel technology company, and our vision is to we envision a globally connected India through transformative tourism. So we have currently a valuation of 2.75 million USD, and we are looking to increase it to 10 million USD in the next 3 years with the help and support of Go Global. We've currently partnered with them, and also we have our unique offerings which include a learning platform, and we are looking to put all the UNESCO World Heritage Sites out there in the form of videos for all those who cannot travel to those places can actually learn about those places through video learning. So this is our unique offering, and of course we look for merger and acquisition or exit in the next few years with Forex, to the investors that invest in our company. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Aziza, for giving me this opportunity to talk on this platform. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's give her a hand. Yeah, we met her through Startup India, which is an ecosystem partner with us in India. So I'd like to invite Edo from Bichura Energy. Come on stage. He came all the way from Mongolia, and he's really excited to share with us his journey as well.
Hello everyone, and thank you Dr. Aziza for inviting me to this wonderful event. And I'm excited to talk about my business and so a little bit background. So I'm the second generation businessman, so to say. My father started his company in 1990s, and his main business was in construction and trade. And in Mongolia, so the construction and trade is all good, but the main problem was the energy sector. Especially when it comes to the tourism, the energy is a big problem because so Mongolia is very vast, half of the population is in one city, and also we have many beautiful places with beautiful views in the nature. But it just makes no sense to build transmission lines over hundreds of kilometers just to reach this one spot. So now in the last few years, 5-6 years, we are so we partnered up with some of the most innovative thinkers of the world, and we are trying to offer Mongolians this mobile and renewable solutions. And also, since we have a background in the construction sector, we would like to use our advantages to engage this new market. Because first, we can build everywhere. We can build houses everywhere we want. Second, now thanks to all my partners, we can get electricity everywhere we want. So we would like to combine this and also move forward with renewable energies. And so if anyone's interested, I can talk about this for many hours. Just to give you some idea, so there's, for example, one of our partners is called Skysys Power from Germany. And these guys, I haven't seen anything like this before because so instead of big wind turbines, these guys use flying kites to produce electricity. So if anyone played with flying kites when they were kids, then you know that the wind will just drag your kite away from you. And on the ground, if you attached it on some like step or something like that, then you have this motion all the time. And these guys from Germany, they are now harnessing electricity using this motion. And second, so in Mongolia especially, it's very cold. It can get very cold. So in Mongolia, we actually need more heating than electricity. So electricity can be managed. We have these wind turbines, solar panels. Heating is the main problem. How do you get heating? And there, our latest partners are the Port of Night Energy from Finland. These guys came up with sand battery technology. So instead of storing electricity from renewable energies as electricity in lithium-ion batteries or all kinds of batteries, these guys using normal sand to store the electricity as heating. So we can feed the district heating networks or the factories with heating and steam. So so these kind of technologies, from our company's view, we would like to bring these new technologies to our country and so do many different kinds of projects. And so they vary also from the very small projects to the bigger ones, because our goal is to actually transform the whole energy sector in Mongolia. So we are really ambitious, because I do believe that this normal conventional way to produce electricity with these big massive coal-fired power plants, it's not the way to go in Mongolia. And so the traditional way of living in Mongolia was actually very sustainable. In Mongolia, so the nomad culture, if you are a nomad, then you have to actually preserve your environment and so coexist with it. And after that, so we obviously built these coal-fired power plants just like any other country. Now it's a good thing that we are living in a time where this sustainability plays a big role in our life. And I think Mongolia can thrive in this kind of time, because our traditional way of living was actually very sustainable. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
To everyone else, good day. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Aziza and Shine Global. It's always a pleasure for me to meet people, of course, Peter and quite a lot of other people. Yeah, so my name is Deepak. I'm the co-founder and director of Reach ISO. So what do? We help companies, global companies, build their trust and credibility. How we do that? We do that by helping them with their compliance and certifications. So when it comes to compliance and certifications, we help them with their quality management. It could be as simple as implementing an ISO 9001. We have a fair bit, or rather I would say we have developed a very lacking expertise in information security and cyber security. So naturally we help our clients implement data governance, data privacy and data protection. So we work with a lot of different standards, not just ISO. GDPR is one of them, HIPAA, PDP for Singapore, DPDPA, which is out, not yet out in India. We also have that. And we also have a very niche security testing team that does a very in-depth penetration testing and vulnerability assessment. So there are a lot of applications out there that you might be thinking, okay, can I trust it or not? So we are the guys that would test it and say, okay, you can sort of trust it to some extent, right? And who are we working with? We are a 9-year-old company already. We are based out of Bangalore. And we are very popular in the fintech space, so quite a lot of fintech companies know us, and we've helped a lot of companies implement their information security and secure their application and tools as well. Of course, we work with a lot of diverse companies as well, a lot of IT companies, a lot of software development or software service companies. We've also worked with some public sectors, some manufacturing units, some energy sector companies as well. So we are pretty much in every space that you can think of. And just wanted to say, I'm always happy to talk to every one of you, and I would love to get in a discussion with you and see how we can add value to to your business or to your company. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much.
Give you a demonstration of conscious capitalism. I want you all to go into Temasek Holdings. Can you go to the website? I think that's the best way to show you. I want to show you the video because it'll show you everything a conscious capitalism framework has to have. We're talking about governance, we're talking about business model innovation, we're talking about taking care of stakeholders and everything else, including a vision of 50 years. So just give you an insight, Temasek Holding owns what companies? I show you the world, 150 people owning everything in the world, but let's look at Singapore. What does Temasek Holding owns? Come on, shout out. Singapore Bank, okay. DBS, what else?
Singapore, Telecom.
Telecom, what else? Singtel, retail malls, example? Capital Land, what else? All the malls, right? Real estate, what else? Supermarkets, yeah, NTUC, SMRT. We can go on and on and on, right? Even this place we are staying in, the reality. So we are looking at a country that literally runs like a company. And we're looking at a model that if you are committed to a community that can create its own ecosystem, it does not need the capital market, stock market to be directly influencing its status. We're not dependent on the stock market to determine us. Do you get that? So the bigger we are able to come together in our business models, the clearer we can get with our capital market conversations, everything that we're talking about today. So I just, can you go back to the page just now? You need to exit it. Go back to the Canva. Is it back there? Yeah, correct. Can you share that? So I just wanted, do you all get the picture of nobody talks about Temasek the way that we are speaking about when it comes to conscious capitalism, because there's a whole, next time we'll have a separate session that we can go in as an investor, as an entrepreneur, how you can leverage on this concept. It's called the game theory model. Left pocket to right pocket. Do you get that? You know, during, when I was in 1990, when I was 20 years old, 30 years ago, we were all told that we're gonna buy Singtel shares for you, Singapore Telecom shares for you, but you don't have to take out your money. We will take it from your CPF that we have put it into the bank. So what they did, they took our money, which then was not possible to be taken out by cash because CPF money never comes out unless you go into retirement or you're gone, then the money can come out. But they took that money and invested in what? Singtel shares. They gave us shares, which otherwise cannot be monetized. Did they do good for us? Did the government do good for us? Yes, we got shares, which means we all became investors indirectly, and we got what? Dividends from the country's telecommunication. For those of us who still hold the shares, still have dividends. For those who did not hold the shares, actually bought it out and cashed out their money. There is what we call wealth distribution happening at various levels in the country. How many of you got ka-ching into your bank account last week? Whatever the amount, right? Because just to let you know, ka-ching means the government actually does cash deposits into our company, our individuals, citizens, whatever name you want to call it, rebate, cash, there is wealth distribution happening. This is the power of what conscious capitalism is capable of. Now that being said, this is not only about Singapore. For those of you who do not know Tata's group, it really blew my mind when I was speaking to the Zambia office, tourism board. Normally we go to any partners now in the tourism sector, we ask them, who are your listed companies in your country? Let's talk to them, because that's where we can imbibe a lot of this top-down approach. We don't do bottom-up. You know the difference, we talked about it. So top-down approach, let's look at the listed company. It really shocked me when I saw Taj Hotel Group in Zambia listing, exchange listing. Who is Taj? Part of Tata's group. Y'all heard of the Tata's group? Anyone who never heard of it? This is going to be good news for you because you're seeing another powerful conscious capitalism in action. They are bigger than Singapore Temasek Holdings. They are the nation builder of India. For your information, Tata's group or the holding company is not owned by a listed company. It is a trust. 60% of the trust money goes to nation building in India. And all the companies that you heard of, Tata's Consultancy, Tata Steel. So the holding company doesn't get listed, all the groups get listed. Such a powerful game. Such a powerful game. I'm telling you this not to just give you idea and new information, but what can you do with the networks that you have, the communities that you are building together? That's the question. Of course, my latest new kid on the block that I speak about is the Sunway Group in Malaysia. So y'all can Google that. They're doing some amazing work from Malaysia as well, because they have the whole ecosystem being built, be it hotels, hospitals, and everything. So for Go Global, I just want to give you a run-up that we have moved. All these while we have been a consultant, and you can see we are very training mode. Apologies for those who feel like, hey, why is she sitting down here and teaching me? This is not about teaching you, it's a powerful sharing that all these years, you heard Doria speak, we have come to the space of not just consulting and just teaching people the work, we have run it ourselves in our own ways. All the mistakes we did in learning to become compliant, to be IPO ready, it's been our journey. Last year, or rather this year, we stepped into declaring for collaborative IPO. And I'm going to share with you how this works for us, because collaborative IPO takes at least 24 months of planning. And we are looking at existing SMEs that want to join hands with us. We're not looking for a group, just a couple of them that will join hands with us in the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. And with that, we have also delved into, right now we're sitting on it, next year going into tourism development as well. So there's a whole ecosystem we're speaking about in this journey. So, next one. Yeah. So we have a very tenacious, audacious vision of bringing together 100,000 SMEs globally, out of which we want to invest and become partner. Remember, The whole game theory, yeah. We want to have 100 companies that works with us, invested with us, and invested by us in the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. And that's where the conscious capitalism in the tourism industry works for us. Because, yeah, next we cover 17 ESG, SDG goals, and this is our business model. We do have a membership, like what I was mentioning earlier on. Olin just now was speaking about. We are licensing our membership as well, and we have, of course, May join us as our operations consultant who will be handling the licensed partners. So the membership and the education is the first part, and then we get into solutions. All the partners in the room, whatever solutions you are providing, that's where we come in and support us, right? And finally, we are looking at the equity that we are getting into with companies that we really admire. Currently, we have 7 portfolios. 7, that means out of the 100, 7 is in the space. Of course, like Vietnam Go with Vietnam, and then we have India and Singapore, Malaysia as well. So some of the events we've already done online and offline. And yeah, next one. Some programs locally and globally. We have started making massive connections in the region and globally for the tourism sector and the invest arm of various countries. So this is where we have started narrowing in and focusing on, and some of the bodies strategically in the space. So conscious tourism is our initiative. What we are doing currently, we are going to the countries. Currently we have 2 specific cities in the making, and we are open to speaking to others. Tourism boards and invest arms of the cities. We go in, we look at how the entrepreneurs are functioning. Are they investable and bankable? Remember the visits we made to Vietnam. We asked for SMEs, can we invest in you, but is your business ready? Can we make it investable? And how can we increase the capital market of the country? Can we bring in more funds? And how can we achieve that? You know, one of the conversations we'll be having with a lot of countries, and Singapore, I would say, I'm going to use a very strong word because we made a mistake of one thing, which also is as a learning experience for others, is we depended on international people bringing in their money and global brands bringing in their money and making locals, because we're a very small country, locals become employees. There is no entrepreneurial spirit. Now we are struggling with that. So here in the new countries and the developing countries, we are saying, let's create local entrepreneurs to become really big, that they provide their own entrepreneurs, rather than international people pumping in all the money and making the country rich, but making the citizens become employees, not the business owners. So this is what we are doing. No, okay, Ken. So we're actually looking at, next one, Ken. So what we do, we go in and identify projects, especially at the exchange listing level. So we go and speak to the stock markets, and probably Mr. Kao, this could be something we can be very strategic about in our conversation next. Looking at the stock market companies, choosing who we want to work with, and then structure them for funding. So this is something that we are doing, and then present them to investors in our network. And remember, we are not a middleman. Ayapaji just now mentioned, we are not just a connector. We become the partner for the project to be invested and executed locally, because we're talking about the travel, tourism, hospitality sector. So in this way, we are really excited to build the complete ecosystem. We have our own game. Like what Doria said, we have no competition because nobody will have the mind to think about this or even the energy to work on it, because we are very fussy in the way that we choose our clients, or we're very strategic in the way we choose our partners. We are looking at sustainability projects. We're talking about eco-friendly projects. We're talking about halal, veganism projects, which brings all the ecosystem players together. So we are very in our own world of conscious tourism. So this is where we are, and of course I put in Tamil Nadu as one of our places, Kanyakumari, and of course our close to our heart, the immediate execution is actually happening in Sabah, East Malaysia, and that's going to be one place that we are inviting everybody to join us in February. We are having a wonderful event there. Sabah, fantastic spot for growth, for tourism, and it's really something that's upcoming from the east side of Malaysia. And then Kanyakumari is the southern tip of India, where the 3 seas meet. Is a powerful place to operate from. So these are projects we have started working towards, and in Sabah we have 45 acres of land already pledged through our shareholder who's invested in Singapore. So we are putting together that ecosystem project as well. And of course, we are speaking to the local tourism and invest arms of the country to identify more projects. So we have the complete framework for that. Yeah. So in our journey, in the next 5 years, we are raising 600 million. We have already declared to Sabah $100 million to be invested in the next 24 months. And that means we look for projects there to get invested in. And in the next 5 years, this will be before. We would have already done our collaborative IPO before that. And then raising funds through the capital market for our follow-up investments. So collaborative IPO and acquisition is on the table, and tourism development. We're looking forward to Long An province. I have to say that was one of the first place we located in Vietnam, but we need a local team. We need vibrant, audacious, you know, what's that word? That aggressive, but in a beautiful, aggressive way to move it with us in the country. If without that, we can't step in. This is what I've learned in a hard way. Why Sabah is taking a lead? Because we have powerful team players, including the convention center CEO, who has joint venture with us and moving it very smoothly for Sabah. So that's why I'm able to even say $100 million. We already know, we're confident of building the project there and bringing the funds in. So with that, that's our version of conscious capitalism. We're putting into action, and we have shareholders in Singapore, which is the holding company, Shine Go Global, with global network of investors already. You know, we are in Accra. You can always look us up with who are the shareholders in our network globally. And thanks to Victoria. For her, we are her legacy plan. So she's also one of our shareholders in Singapore. So with that, this is okay, you want to take a screenshot of this? These are our upcoming events that you can participate, be it to grow your business or to seek investments. We, in Go Global, we represent, like when myself or Aipaji, we speak on conscious capitalism for the industry, whereas we have global network of partners and mentors who speak on various topics as well. So of course, welcome everybody to join hands with us there. So I want to leave you with a message, and we're going to definitely continue this conversation after the break, while we have lunch, is for February 22nd, 23rd. What can you contribute, not to Go Global, to this mission of conscious capitalism from Singapore? And what are the projects that you can bring in to raise funds with us? Because it's not only Shine Go Global's tourism project. What other projects do you want to bring in and raise funds together? And what are your projects in hand that can be structured for next level of growth? That's what we want to ask you. So this is a message we always leave people with, because this encompasses conscious capitalism. When every one of us wake up in the morning to ask ourselves, how do I make the world work 100% of the time for 100% of humanity without any ecological damage or disadvantage to anyone in the shortest time possible through spontaneous cooperation? This is the most powerful word. We have invited you today to ask you to explore the spontaneous cooperation that's available for humanity, that we can really come together and say, let's do this together and let's make humanity work for everyone. So we really want to thank everybody who joined hand with us, and February 22nd, 23rd, mark your dates. We want more speakers. We want more conscious speakers coming to us, investors coming in to speak in the event, and also have more interactive sessions, because today's crowd is a mix of partners and guests, so we're keeping it a bit loose, but we want to be very strategic. Later on, while during the lunchtime, we're going to ask you, like, who's going to be part of the committee, who's going to move it with us, you know, who's going to bring in, Mongolian delegates, maybe bring in and your projects to be represented in the. I'm looking forward to Edo having his project represented and raise funds through this network as well. So looking forward to that. Anyone have anything else to add on? Thank you so much. Victoria, you want to say anything? Is Ravenna there already? Victoria, is she there? Oh, it's okay. Okay.
Thank you so much for this interesting session, for your attention, and I hope I can see everyone on our February event, because a lot of information today, and I think a lot of questions we discussed today. This is a very amazing. This is a very interesting.
Thank you so much, dear. You know, when we share ours, we want you to create your own ecosystem, like what Blue Santos is doing. They are creating their own ecosystem. Every country, every individual can create your own ecosystem of game theory model, and we want to see how we can support each other with as well. Okay, great. If there's no question, we want to say thank you. We're gonna break. We're gonna go off for lunch and more discussions. And y'all please go and have your lunch. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks to everybody watching live as well as on Zoom and here. We're gonna close the session right now officially. Look forward to catching up with you on February 22nd, 23rd in Singapore International Investors Forum. Thank you. Thank you everybody.